bisexual versus pansexual. I have talked about this before. It's been a really long time. I'm revisiting the topic, okay? I'm making a brand new. We're going to address it brand new. Okay? Some people call themselves bisexual. Okay, we kind of have like a general idea of what bisexual means, what even is pansexual, and then like there are some other terms that are kind of also falling under this broad umbrella. There's the typical terms that you're familiar with, right? The gays, the straights. We call that being monosexual. If you're like a man who is only attracted to men, that's gay. That's homosexual, right? If you're a man who's only attracted to women, that's straight or heterosexual, okay? Follow me. So sometimes people are attracted to both men and women. Whoa, crazy concept. We generally call that bisexual, right? This starts to get a little bit fuzzy when you're like, okay, but what do trans people count as, right? Like if a straight man is attracted to a trans woman, is that gay? This is a running question that's been asked for years. Generally speaking, if a man is attracted to women and also happens to be attracted to a trans woman, he's still straight. Okay, guys, listen. Come here. Come closer. You're still straight. The penis is in a feminine context, if she even has one. We're making assumptions. Here's the problem. Stop making assumptions about trans people's bodies and how they want to use them. Okay? Anyway, so yeah, if you're attracted to women in general and a trans woman happens to be attractive to you, cool. That's because she's a woman, right? Like, congratulations, you're still heterosexual. Some people use the term pansexual, right? Pansexual, like some people have used this in the past to mean, well, I am also attracted to trans people, therefore I should call myself pansexual. Like there's a whole thing where like, oh, like I'm a man who's attracted to women, but if I'm attracted to a trans woman, I guess that makes me pansexual. No, not the case. And then when we say bisexual also, there's this kind of assumption that it's like, I mean men and I mean women, but that like a bisexual person can also be attracted to trans people of either gender, because again, that just falls into the normal being attracted to men and women category. But you can also be attracted to non-binary people. The Bisexual Manifesto, which was written in like, I think the 80s, makes a bold statement that you should not assume that by us saying bi, that means that gender is binary, you know? I read it a long time ago on the channel. It's like 2 minutes long, the Bisexual Manifesto. So even, you know, the OG bisexual activists are saying like, we're trans inclusive. We're inclusive of the idea of non-binary gender. And of course there are probably some bisexuals out there who are like, I wouldn't date a trans person. I mean cisgender men and cisgender women. There are transphobic people in all demographics, okay? Just like there are some straight people or gay people who would say, I don't date trans people. That, personally, my opinion, is built on a bunch of assumptions about trans people's bodies, what they're like, what we want, all this kind of stuff. And also a grave misunderstanding of how impactful hormones are on the body. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about bi versus pan. Hi, we would like you to hit like and subscribe and check out the links in the description so that you can donate to the GoFundMe or the Patreon, and check out the links for merchandise. Check out this cute hoodie I'm wearing, OMG. Do it for the kitty. He's such a good boy. So you might wonder like, okay, well, if bisexual is inclusive of trans people and even non-binary people, what is the point of the word pansexual? Well, pansexual really definitionally means that you are attracted to people kind of regardless of their gender. Like that their gender isn't a primary factor for you. It's kind of the, you know, I'm just into people, man. I just want to get to know your mind. You know, those types of people. I'm exaggerating. I'm being a little bit silly, but pansexual really means like, I don't care about your gender that much. I'm just attracted to you as a person. Like your genitals don't really matter to me. We'll figure it out, you know, basically speaking. So People sometimes have made the distinction that like, oh, pansexual is the version of bi where you're into trans people. That's not actually the case. It just means like irrespective of gender, it doesn't really matter, right? So bisexual can be trans inclusive. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's transphobic to call pansexual like the I'm open to dating trans people sexuality, but it is inaccurate given how we use these terms in the community. And we're not just limited to those two terms, you know? We also have omnisexual and polysexual, which I have discussed in the past. So polysexual is kind of the very broad term as opposed to monosexual. You know, we mentioned earlier, if you're a man and you're attracted only to women, you're monosexual. So polysexual is kind of like the broad term for anybody. And like bisexual is also kind of considered an umbrella term. So if you identify specifically as pansexual, you also kind of fall under the broad category of bi because you can be attracted to people of multiple different genders, essentially. So polysexual is kind of the broad term. And some people use polysexual to mean like, I'm attracted to women and non-binary people, you know, like, because that's, you're polysexual, you're attracted to more than one type of gender, whatever. People can use this term in whatever way makes them feel the most comfortable, right? Because that's part of the deal here, is that even if the word specifically means something, you might see people using it in a way that you're not expecting. A pansexual person who doesn't care about the gender of the person they're attracted to, they might, for the sake of, familiarity or the sake of ease of communication, they might identify as a bi person because that's the more common term. Because like some of this is vibes based, if I'm being completely honest. This is kind of how things work in the queer community. I'm so sorry if you're new to this concept, but you know how all sorts of different people in the community say like, oh, I'm gay. I'm so gay, even though they might be bisexual or whatever. Because gay is kind of an umbrella term, you know? Bisexual is kind of an umbrella term. Sometimes people choose which label based on which flag they like the best because the myopic distinctions don't really matter that much, you know? It's very personal to each individual. So whichever word you think is accurate, plus whichever word you think has the right vibes, plus whichever word you think is going to help you communicate quickly how you're going to explain this to people, you know, these are all factors. And so even though you might think, oh, technically I know, I listened to Luxander explain to me what pansexual means, don't then take that and like lecture somebody about like, oh, well, you call yourself bi, but you don't actually care about gender, which means you're pan. We don't do this, okay? Terms are extremely fluid in the queer community. And at the end of the day, these distinctions don't matter that much, okay? So moving on, we've got polysexual, and then you've got omnisexual. I'm attracted to Omni-Man. Anyway, omnisexual. So omni and pan both mean all. So they're both like, I'm open to dating basically anybody of any gender. But there is a connotation with omnisexual that it also means like that gender does matter. So it's kind of, you can be attracted to anyone of any gender, but the gender does matter to you, which you might think, wow, that sounds like bisexual. And like, yeah, again, it's just about vibes, really. For a period of time, I thought, oh yeah, omnisexual is a good word for me. I don't feel that way anymore. I felt that way for a very short period of time, which is part of why I'm remaking this video, because I have a whole part at the end of that video where I talk about omnisexual. I personally call myself queer because technically, I think you would say I'm bisexual or omnisexual because I am attracted to people of different genders, but the gender is a factor. Like, I'm attracted to men for specific reasons, and I'm attracted to women for specific reasons and specific qualities. And like, I'm attracted to trans women for specific reasons. And like, so each group, like, yeah, I'm attracted to men because of their like a lot of what would be considered masculine qualities, right? So technically you could say I'm bisexual or omnisexual. I don't like getting in the weeds when I'm having these conversations. I don't want to have a conversation about what my specific labels mean. And I have personally always defaulted to, and I think it's okay for people to do this, to default to the broadest term possible. I view queer as an even more broad term than bisexual, even though bisexual is a very broad term for anybody who is like attracted to people of multiple genders. You know, I like queer because it doesn't have this assumption. Like, I think when people hear bi, they hear two, and they're probably thinking, oh, you're attracted to men and women, you know, even though the Bisexual Manifesto explicitly says that it's a poor assumption to make that gender is binary, you know? So for the sake of communication, for the sake of what feels most comfortable, personally, I like queer because we don't have these like, oh, let me tell you what exactly it means. It means specifically I'm attracted to people regardless of gender, or it means specifically I'm attracted to men a little bit more than women, or whatever it is. I think it's totally okay and completely fitting within the norm of queer presentation and like queer communication to just say, yo, I'm queer. And if you're interested in me, then we can suss that out, except that I'm married. So we're not sussing anything. But yeah, is there anything else I should add to this? I feel like demisexual and pansexual are very close partners. Yeah, in this particular video, I'm not even getting into demisexual because that's the like asexual spectrum. And I do want to honor that by having its own video. Although I do not know that I am the best person to talk about it because I am not asexual. I think it would be fair to say that I'm demisexual. But anyway, look forward to that. That's a whole other video that we'll do before too terribly long. And I will be relying a lot more on chat to help round that out a little bit since I do not know a lot about it. Yeah, there's a... I'm mostly bi, but if a humanoid alien showed up, I wouldn't say no. I feel like being open to anyone based on vibes more than body parts is why I could be called pan. Yeah, I think, yeah, being open to anyone based on vibes more than body parts is generally technically considered pansexual. And I do think, yeah, omnisexual is, it's a term that has been used to describe characters like Captain Jack Harkness from Doctor Who seems to not only be attracted to people regardless of gender, but also regardless of species, because whenever he encounters a moderately attractive humanoid, he's like, how you doing? And like, yeah, so omnisexual also kind of has this funny connotation that it's like, oh, I'm also open to humanoids of other alien species or something. I don't know. It's kind of silly. I think we crushed it, y'all. I don't know that there's anything else I could possibly say about bi versus pan. Go with whatever label you want. Go based off of which flag you like better. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Thank you to the patrons, especially Bo E, Hapax Legomenon Patient Advocate, Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Sarah A, Jack, Amanda B, Michelle Frateroli, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, Suzanne Maynard, DZXN, Jamie Jam, Nova, Sojo, Past Null Infinity, Elizabeth Bartell, Jericho, Athiet, Desi Quiche, Celeste, Mr. Atheist, Liam Hodgson, Kevin Young, and Ella V. Nobody.